Hello and welcome to Words of the Wild, a podcast brought to you by the Scottish Wildlife Trust. For our new listeners, my name is Ed and I will be your host throughout this episode. As always, I am joined by my fantastic colleague and co-host.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel and thank you for tuning in to episode number 6. Can't quite believe, Ed, we're at episode 6 already.
I know, it's absolutely flying by. It's been loads of fun. So we've got a great episode and we've got one more left after this. But Rachel, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, like you say, we've got a great one lined up for you today. We are going to be exploring our connections to nature. So, from how it benefits our mental well-being to inspires our art, music and stories and so on. So we've got a really great first segment. We are joined by Tracy Lambert, who looks after the Cumbernauld Living Landscape project and its many other forms that it's had over the years.
Well, Tracy, thank you very much for joining us and taking some time out of your very, very busy schedule to have a chat today. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's our pleasure. So the first question really is what is the Cumbernauld Living Landscape?
Well, Cumbernauld Living Landscape is a landscape scale conservation initiative with a vision to work with the community to achieve transformative change across the town of Cumbernauld, creating a greener Cumbernauld. The initiative aims to create, enhance, restore and reconnect areas of the town, helping everybody in the community to connect with nature on their doorstep. We are a project based, therefore dependent on funding and donors. This means that we can develop and deliver projects from between 2 and 5 years, depending on the level of funding we can gain. The initiative is currently in the middle of a development phase for nurturing natural connections, and this is currently funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund. We hope that we'll be able to produce this project and have it for the 5 years going from 2025 to 2030. The Living Landscape also is a partnership and it's led by Scottish Wildlife Trust, and we work together with our partners at North Lanarkshire Council, Conservation Volunteers, Sanctuary Scotland and Glasgow and Clyde Valley Green Network to build on the strong foundations of established partnerships and collaborative working in previous projects, and we're aiming to do that to forge a resilient future for Cumbernauld people and natural heritage.
So exciting times really in that development phase. It sounds like you're working with some great partners in there as well. So what are some of the kind of key goals and the key pieces of work that the Cumbernauld Living Landscape is working towards now?
Well, we are looking to create a more resilient future for Cumbernauld to help fight against the climate change and biodiversity loss. And we'll do this by enhancing Cumbernauld greens and blue spaces for both people and wildlife with the goal of helping everybody in the community to understand, value and act for nature. We will achieve this by delivering a suite of capital works that will improve the health of our woodlands, wildflower meadows and our watercourses, and which will support wildlife and provide places for people and wildlife to thrive. We're going to have a new species recording platform that is being built at the moment, is very exciting, at the back of our website, that will help us track targeted species such as butterflies, birds and bees, and invasive non-natives and garden escapees. There will be volunteering opportunities at various levels, from easy tasks with green health and wellbeing activities to intermediate activities with nature recording and advanced activities for practical conservation and habitat management. We'll also, it's a big project, we'll also build on community memories and past learnings and using innovative technologies such as augmented and virtual reality to help connect those who are unable to visit their local green space. And we aim to embed practical skills and digital technology to create another platform for community groups and organisations who are conducting conservation tasks and seeking volunteers. And this will be a way to signpost volunteers to these groups and create a legacy for the future as well. Our engagement delivery is going to do a first as well. We will incorporate trauma-informed practice, basically as our day-to-day. That would be thinking about our audiences and anything that they may have been through to reduce any negative impacts on them while they're out with us. We will embed that into our resources and the way we deliver our sessions. And there'll be various levels of green health and wellbeing, whether it's direct through the health and wellbeing stream, we're calling natural benefits, or whether it's an indirect byproduct of doing employability or upskilling through practical conservation.
I mean, it all sounds absolutely fantastic. And I've said in previous episodes that I always find that mix of conservation and, high tech things really interesting. And that virtual reality work that you're kind of planning sounds brilliant. And then to tie in the kind of wellbeing aspects is just the icing on the cake. It's a huge piece of work and it's absolutely brilliant. Obviously, the Trust has got couple of other living landscapes. We've got the Cora Linn living landscape way up north, and then, of course, the Edinburgh living landscape. What are some of the challenges within the Cumbernauld living landscape, and what makes it a bit more unique?
Ooh, let's see. Challenges, there are aplenty. They come in all shapes and sizes. I always joke that we've got our own wee microclimate, and there are times in the past couple of months and nothing but rain that I'm thinking I'm right. But we have storm events that can change planned activities in a second. It can also change the ability to carry out the capital works. So we have to be adaptive and sure that we're ready for plans B, C, and D right through to Z. I think that any public-facing project is always going to see that working with the public is a huge challenge. We're not the exception. It can be difficult to recruit volunteers. It can be hard to fill a training course at times, and conservation might seem a bit niche, but it isn't. It's wildlife is there for everybody to enjoy, to watch wildlife, or even to take care of it. Whether it's about hanging a bird feeder in your garden or removing invasive non-native species which cause harm to our environment, everybody can join in. So, of course, we always don't agree with each other as well, but this is a really good thing because it keeps us talking about nature and what we can actually do to help protect it, and we learn through this process. Everybody faces challenges, that's just life, but it's what we do in the face of those challenges that makes a difference. I guess what makes us unique, well, I've been thinking about this for some time, truth be told, years, because I'm also a resident, so I will apologise now, but there may be some bias involved. But we are incredibly lucky to have a town that is almost 50% green. We used to be over 50, but the past couple of years, we have seen that figure now drop because of new housing developments. And the green spaces that we do have remaining, they're all right beside houses, shops, schools. People can access a local green space within about 5 to 10 minutes, which is pretty amazing considering some other towns in Scotland when you think about it. We have a mosaic of habitats from amenity grasslands to semi-natural ancient woodland, from marsh to peat bogs, again all in an urban setting. The mosaic of habitat supports a wide range of plants, fungi, mammals, invertebrates and birds. But then ultimately, there's the people of Cumbernauld. I've had the pleasure of working with a wide range of communities from the most deprived areas in the town to the most affluent, and the common theme across it is a passion. They are passionate for their communities and they like to get stuff done. And I found the people in my town to be so friendly and helpful. They're just amazing. Wouldn't it be?
I mean, I started in conservation many years ago working in community engagement, and I was out running events, and seeing those magic moments where people connect with nature was what started my love of conservation as a sector and as a career, really. So yeah, when you've got that captive audience and that group of people that want to be involved and have that passion, it's a really, really special thing, and it's so important. And I absolutely love that this whole project is just so people focused. It's brilliant. I just want to go back because I know you talked a bit about the kind of trauma-informed practice, and I'm really interested to talk a bit more about people's connection to nature and some of the work you're doing around that.
So a good number of years ago, we started a Wildways Well project with our partners, the conservation volunteers. Started off as a traineeship idea, and it kind of evolved into the Wildways Well kind of theme that runs through TCV at the moment. And I think one of the important things from that we learned as conservation officers and community engagement officers was that there's loads of studies out there, and they're really starting to highlight that our health is directly linked to biodiversity levels. So the higher biodiversity, the happier we are, and we don't consciously make that link. It just happens within us. And it's conversely, the lower the biodiversity is, the more negatively it affects our well-being. So we're in a situation where we're improving green spaces and we're doing community engagement. It's perfect. So if we know that good quality green space makes a difference for people, they're more relaxed, happier and healthier. It's not just the studies that tell us this as well, but it's now also our experience in previous projects. And we've heard back from participants through our last project, Creating Natural Connections, that for many, connecting with nature was life-saving. We've seen the difference it can make, and the staff feel it as well. It's not just the volunteer and participants. And we've been so fortunate to have an incredible bunch of volunteers donate their time and effort with us over the years. Our volunteers mean the world to us as well. They help us achieve so much, and they take action for wildlife, and that enthusiasm is contagious. So that, coupled with good mental health, the passion for sharing knowledge. It's a win-win for both of us, that especially for the wildlife that we're striving to support and in some cases save as well. In many levels, we're saving so much and we just don't realise it. And a big part of that is ourselves.
Such powerful stuff, and it's so inspiring to hear more about this. And I think we could all benefit from spending a bit more time outside and connecting with nature. It's brilliant.
Definitely.
At risk of putting you on the spot just a little bit, do you have a favourite experience or kind of memory from working on the Cumbernauld Living Landscape on any of the projects, or whether it's a wildlife experience or with a group of participants? Has there been a particular kind of wow moment for you?
There has been. I think the previous project, the Creating Natural Connections, we identified there was a gap in delivery of teenagers. Everybody was like, it's too hard to work with teenagers at school and all that. They're surly, they're this, that, and the next thing. And we were like, well, we're going to do it. So sure enough, I had a group of about 10 to 15 surly teenagers. Oh, this is rubbish, I don't want to do this. And they're all moaning and groaning one day at St Maurice's Pond. So I took them around the pond to show them what was actually there. Because for many people, they just thought there was a BMX track there and they didn't realise that there's an actual park behind that BMX track. And I'm thinking to myself, this project is going to fail. These guys are not connecting. What am I going to do? So we walked around it. We sat down at the car park, put down a tarp and got a Kelly kettle up on the go for some hot chocolate. And we started talking. And I started telling them about the sex life of bees. And if you're interested in it, go and read up on it. The sex life of bees is incredible. It changes relationships between the sisters and the brothers to each other. And the teenagers just could not wrap their heads around it. And they kept on asking, no, tell me that again. And I was like, I've got you. This is how you've connected, just because of a wee bee and its sex life. There you go. From that moment on, I never looked back. They were absolutely fantastic. And I still get they're now adults, coming up to me and going, I remember you at the high school. Right, tell them about these bees. For me, I'm like, if you can remember that all those years, then what we did worked. And it's that connection that you've got, and you'll remember that for the rest of your life.
You would have thought it'd be the, lighting a fire to make a hot chocolate would have been the selling point. But no, the humble sex life of our bees is
a bumblebee.
It's amazing. Absolutely brilliant. So what's next? Because obviously you've mentioned that the kind of, there's this, you're in this kind of transition development phase. What's the future look like? What's next for the Living Landscape?
Well, at the moment with the project, our focus is to collate all the information from the community, the consultants, partners and other organisations to create this activity plan. We will submit that to National Lottery Heritage Fund for the end of February. After that, it's in the lap of the gods. If we are successful, we would begin the project in July. So recruitment would begin in July 2025, and then the project would run until, engagement-wise, March 2030. It feels like such a long time away, but I remember thinking this with the Creating Natural Connections project. It came by so quickly. And I'm at the stage, I'm like, oh, we really need to submit soon. So it's just one of these things. It'll go to a board, it'll be assessed, and if they see that there is impact and value in the project, then hopefully, fingers crossed, to steal their logo, we would have the funding to be able to deliver for the next 5 years.
Brilliant. We'll keep everything crossed, and it's so exciting. At risk of putting you on the spot one last time, if you could give one message to the people listening, whether they're in Cumbernauld or further afield, what would you kind of say to people? What would your message be about getting outside or connecting or whatever it is?
I think that there's constant reports coming out that we're one of the most nature deprived countries in Europe. We've also got this term that's been vocalised, nature deprivation, and it's true. There's a massive disconnect. Go outside, go for a walk, just go and sit somewhere and connect with it at a level that you're actually conscious of. So many times we just walk by a woodland and we take it for granted. We're not actually involving ourselves in our surroundings. And I think there's a time that we need to actually do this. We're in such a fast-paced life where everything is now. And we feel guilty if we do something for ourselves. We need to stop that. Really do. And we need to go out there and actually take time for ourselves. It'll make us happier. It'll make us healthier. We'll be able to relate to people a wee bit better. But it's just take time and notice your surroundings. Go out there and experience it and try and get these wee stories of one. What is the story that connects you to it? What is the memories of you as a kid? What did you do? Because I'm sure that for many, when they were kids, they would have ranged for miles. Nowadays, you see the kids very rarely leave their front doorstep when they go to play. And it's a shame. And share the stories. Share what makes these places special to you as well. Shout about it. We don't do enough of that. And I think it's something that's really, really valuable.
Yeah, massively. And I think even a lot of us at the Trust could benefit from spending that a little bit more time connecting and slowing down and just seeing what's around us, because it's easy, like you say, to just walk past. Tracy, look, this has been absolutely fantastic and quite inspirational, quite emotional. So thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you.
Tracy, I know it's super, super busy. So yeah, again, a massive thank you for taking the time out to have a chat there. I was struck when we were chatting just how important it is to connect to nature and the breadth of work that the Cumbernauld Living Landscape is doing and has done, but just how important it is as well, for our mental health and well-being to get out and connect with nature. It's so important for us, right, Rachel?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, like Tracy had mentioned about sort of heading outside, and sometimes we can just be maybe so focused on where we're going that we're not really noticing anything. And I feel like, I don't know about you, Ed, but I'm so guilty for that. Like, I can be going out to walk,
Yeah.
but my head's down, I've got my headphones on, I can't even hear anything apart from, my music or my podcast. But yeah, I'm just so unaware of my surroundings. But when you actually go outside and you really immerse yourself in it, I feel like you get much more of a quality experience. It was actually recently I was out in Ayrshire with the Trust, actually. So I was with Harry, who's our Ayrshire engagement officer, and he took us out on one of the reserves, and he was really good at kind of making us slow down and stop and like look at all the little things, whether it's, up above or down below. And it was after that I went out on my kind of usual route that I do around sort of Glasgow and kind of through some of the green spaces. And like I walk this route all the time, I run it all the time. But this time I went out with like no headphones and I was actually really paying attention. And it was crazy how much of a different experience it was doing that same route, but paying a lot more attention. And I noticed so much more. I noticed these little community gardens. I noticed there was so many bird boxes put up around the park, and I noticed just all the sounds and stuff around me. It was really quite special, just that one moment, having taken my headphones away and just really immersing myself in it.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy for us, a lot of people who are interested in wildlife and enthusiasts to focus on kind of like the next big sighting or like the next box to tick, what we're going to go out and try and find next. But actually, I've been trying really, really hard, like recently, to just enjoy the small things, whether it's the colours on some of the goldfinches or the blue tits on the feeders in my garden, or whether it's the sound of the wind in the trees, or just even like the feeling of the temperature and things like that. Just noticing those small things. And I know it sounds a little bit kind of earthy and like I'm really preaching here, but I think all of us, even those of us who work in conservation, can benefit a huge amount from slowing down a little bit. And like you say, Rachel, just kind of noticing what's there and what's around us. It's super important.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's nothing I actually love more than waking up, going into my kitchen and hearing like the wood pigeons. They're just one of my favourite noises, and there's just loads cutting about in my courtyard, and I just love to hear them in the morning. And that's just such a simple thing, and it actually does brighten my mood just before I've had my morning coffee, it's great.
And there's such cheeky little characters. I mean, they're quite overlooked, but yeah, they can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's much better than the like 4 a.m. seagull screeches that I sometimes get. But, still connected with nature at 4 a.m. with the seagulls.
So as part of the Scottish Wildlife Trust's 60th anniversary celebrations, we are also running our Words of the Wild storytelling competition. We're inviting you to tell your stories of Scotland's wildlife and wild places. Whether you've witnessed a breathtaking wildlife spectacle or you've had a wildlife encounter that stopped you in your tracks, we'd love to know which words you'd use to describe these wild experiences.
That's right. So whether you've never written anything like this before, or you're an avid writer, you can send up to 1,000 words of nature writing, and it can be in any form you like. So you could send us a poem, a letter, an article, or a short story, or even a song lyric if that's your jam. As long as it's connected to native Scottish wildlife, you can submit it to the competition. So entries can be fiction or non-fiction, so imagined or real, but we are looking for stories of real Scottish wildlife, so unfortunately no stories about wild haggis or fairies, please. So we have a junior category for under 18s, and we've got an adult category for everyone over 18. And the winners will receive a great bundle of prizes. So it includes a pair of fantastic binoculars from Viking Optical, an environmental book subscription from the Main Street Trading Company. We have vouchers from NHBS, which is a super company that have a huge selection of wildlife watching and surveying equipment. And for the junior category, there's a great trail cam starter bundle, and it has everything in there that you need to get started with your wildlife watch exploring. So deadlines for entries are the 31st of August 2024, so this year. So please head over to our website. You'll find all of the details and how to submit your entry. And good luck.
We're going to jump straight into our second feature of the episode. And for this one, we are heading to the Falls of Clyde in Lanarkshire, where we'll be hearing from Lindsay, who's the visitor centre manager, as well as Amy, who is one of the young leaders down there, as they take us on a little walk up to the waterfall of Cora Linn.
Well, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here today on this lovely Sunday morning. Thank you for getting out your bed so early. And I'm so pleased it's not raining. I decided not to take my rain jacket because that would be jinxing it. So anyway, thank you very much for coming. This is my favourite place to be in the whole world. So much so that I've actually worked here for like half my life. And it's just one of those super places that I love taking people to explore. It's lovely. I'm looking around and I see some familiar faces. So for those of you that I know, thank you for coming. And the new people as well that haven't visited before, it's going to be great to show you some of my favourite places. A wee bit of an introduction to the Falls of Clyde team. I'm the Visitor Experience Manager down here. I do various different things to do with events and all the way through from badger watches to looking after the visitor centre, school groups, the watch group. I seem to have lots of different hats. We also have the reserve manager, Sven, and the ranger, the Clyde Valley Ranger, Nicole, who are having well-earned day off today. We have the seasonal ranger here today, Kirsten, and it's nice because she's only been here for 4 months or so. I think she's already hooked on Falls of Clyde too. And I should have introduced you also. So Amy, you're a young leader as well, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're going to be interviewing me, although it seems like I'm interviewing you right now.
Yeah.
To give you a little bit of background as well, Scottish Wildlife Trust bought Falls of Clyde in the year I was born, actually. So I'm now going to give away my age, 1978. So the year after that, they had their first ranger service as well. So it's not just us at Falls of Clyde and Scottish Wildlife Trust that think Falls of Clyde is so special. We have been designated as well. So you've maybe heard of a SSSI, or a Site of Special Scientific Interest. We were awarded that in 1971, I believe, and we've also in 2007 been awarded the gateway to the National Nature Reserves for the Clyde Valley Woodlands. So there's another 5 reserves down the Clyde Valley, ending at Chatleroe. I don't know if you know it, but we're the Clyde Valley National Nature Reserves, so all very prestigious. And of course we're standing in the World Heritage Site as well. Without the Falls of Clyde, I like to think that this wouldn't be here at all. You know, the falls were here first. The power of the water has been harnessed long before even New Lanark got involved. There would have been mills down here using the water. And that kind of excites me too, that we're going to be walking in the footsteps of people that were using water, you know, in the 18th century, right the way back to like the 14th century. Let's take a wee walk and I'll give you a little bit of an introduction as we go up here. we're going to be seeing these strips of ancient woodlands. I normally talk a little bit further up here, but it's really loud, the water, so this is quite a good point to talk about it. But there's special ancient mixed deciduous woodlands along the border of the Clyde, and that's one of the reasons why it's got these designations. It makes it so special. It's great for wildlife, great for biodiversity, and as I say, it's that ancient woodland as well. Also, it's got a unique fluvial geology. Now, before I go into too much detail, we do have a geology, or no, she's a geography teacher here. So she knows much more about it than me, but in layman's terms, and please do keep me right, the idea is that the glacial melts, so end of the Ice Age, 10,000 years ago, all the ice was melting and it was pushing the weight down of the meltwater, and instead of going its original route of the river, it actually just made its way through the soft sandstone and the shale, and it ate into it. So now it's like a diverted route of the river, and it's one of the best examples of it in Scotland. So that's one of the main reasons it's designated. And Dundaff was the waterfall you can hear down to the left of us here, or the left of me, sorry. The water's not looking as turbulent as it was last week, but we've not been having quite as much rain. So this makes it perfect for looking for dipper, the little brown bird with the white tummy, dips up and down on a rock. Perfect for little pools for the kingfisher as well. And you often see the cormorant and the heron down here too. So keep your eyes open, and if I'm distracted by people chatting at me, shout if you see something exciting. Come on then. Oh yeah, John Derbyshire was so passionate about the badgers at that time. Oh, that was over 25 years ago. He was doing badger watches and had been doing them for several years. So it was part of my project was going out and sitting in the woods watching the badgers. I had to do something like 30 by myself and record all their behaviours. So you couldn't not love them after that. They're such charismatic creatures, they're amazing.
And for you, like for this reserve, why are they a particularly important species?
So the steep gorge edges are perfect for badgers. They have perfect drainage. They can use the gravity basically to help them dig. It's nice, soft, sandy soil. And it's also great, I'll show you later, but it's also a great place for badgers to forage as well. So this is Cora Linn. You can imagine in winter the amount of water coming down, and it's meant to be reported as the biggest river in terms of flow in Scotland, but it varies. So it can go to like a tiny trickle, even a tinier trickle than that. We're really trying to put it back to what it was originally. Within reason, because Falls of Clyde is that designed landscape, if you like. So whilst we're trying to take out the non-natives and put it back what it was, there's some beautiful big trees, especially round about Cora Linn, like big Douglas fir that normally we wouldn't care about, or sycamore, and things that have been planted and have a lot of historical significance. They're in paintings, they're big key species that we want to keep as part of that designed landscape. It's a classic cascade waterfall, so you can see how the water's been eaten away and making it kind of go down in these sort of shelves. And it's amazing to me to think that it's changing, it's ever changing. So when we come back, I don't know, if we could come back in a few hundred years, would it be different? Would it have eaten further back into the rock? I'm trying to think if it's changed in our time, Dawn, but I doubt it.
No, I think there's a myth here.
Do you?
I don't think it's retreating much at all.
No.
Because it wasn't formed by a neck point retreating.
Yep.
It was formed by the glacial breach and the meltwater.
Yes.
The likes of which we don't have anymore.
Yes. So unless there's another ice age, we're fine.
Exactly. Yes.
So you can actually feel the spray in your face in winter. It's amazing. What I think's really interesting as well is that, you know, people would pay to come up here. You would have had all these famous people coming. So Sir Walter Scott came up. You had Dorothy and William Wordsworth that came up as well, and they wrote all about it. We've got some paintings on the panel at the back there that shows some of the lovely paintings. Turner and Naismith all did fantastic work. So it's really inspired people through the ages. And it's funny to think that people are still getting inspired. I was up the other day and somebody was sitting painting and just drawing, and I thought that's lovely. Maybe in a few hundred years that'll be worth some money too.
A big thank you to Lindsay, Amy and the rest of the Falls of Clyde team. That sounded like a great day out. I feel like I say this about every place in this podcast, but Falls of Clyde is really one of my favourite stuff to do. I mean, it's the one closest to me, and I love to get the chance to go and visit. I mean, if you haven't been before, so many beautiful walks, and you've got the river, the waterfall, you've got grasslands and woodland. It's just a lovely little place, and also that it's nestled in New Lanark, which is also an amazing place on its own. Hearing the water is just so peaceful, and Lindsay had also mentioned the badger watches, and yeah, I totally recommend going if you get the chance. Falls of Clyde always has loads of stuff going on, so you can actually head over to our website on our events section. You can see what's coming up at Falls of Clyde. So Ed, where are we off to next?
Well, we're kind of following the water here. So we've gone from a waterfall to water kind of falling from the sky. We're heading over to one of our reserves, Largiebaan, out in Campbelltown. On a very, very rainy day, we kind of roped Billy, who's our reserves manager for the area, into helping us here with a bit of recording. Billy, a huge thank you to you straight away. This feature is really, really exciting. So Billy went and recorded with Angus Martin, who is well respected as a poet, a writer and a historian, not just locally, but across Scotland. I'm really, really looking forward to this feature. So I'll stop talking.
Right, away we go. Angus Martin, born in Campbelltown, 1952, still going sort of. Not just as agile as before, but still managing to get about. This session should have been done at Largiebaan, but unfortunately adverse weather conditions, bit of wind and steady rain, and probably a bit of mist there, so we're doing it in Campbelltown in a room in the library. So, Largiebaan. The whole coast, of course, is spectacular, but it would be the shepherds that gave the Ordnance Survey, I think about 1866 or so, or 67 they'd be in that coast, and almost all of the place names would come from the 2 or 3 shepherds that they consulted. The Ordnance Survey is often criticised for kind of sloppy spellings or inaccurate interpretations of place names, but I don't subscribe to that. The Ordnance Survey now covered the ground then the vast majority of these place names would have disappeared, no question about it, because there were so few people, even then, living there, that the continuation of the tradition of these place names and their meaning would have been broken. But one of the most intriguing place names there is Phaichnie, which is a pure Norse name, meaning edge point. And when you look at it, you can see exactly what it means, because it's a promontory, and it's also there's a ridge there, very sharp ridge. And if you've climbed up there from Neenans, in the entire way, you're very glad to get to the Phaichnie, because it's quite a climb up. So you're 1,000 feet up, you're looking across to the North Antrim coast, Rathlin, Donegal as well, see Donegal, and then Islay, Jura, so it's a spectacular outlook, and just the colours are so vivid, even the greens, you think it's a sort of bleak place. Yeah, it's quite a bleak place, because it's mostly, when you get on the top, it's moorland. But the grassy slopes and the scree, all combines into a wonderful picture. Falcons at the Ignish. The Ignish is a headland to the north of Largiebaan. And on the day this poem pertains to, I was looking for one of the botanical rarities, and I found it at the foot of the cliff at the Ignish. Anyway, Falcons at the Ignish. All the time I was scrambling there in search of summer flowers. Among the scattered broken stones, she screeched and screeched from a hole in the cliff, in which I could not see her, while he busied himself in the sky or alit a while on a rock at the top. A perceptible raptor, only if the skyline ridge was printed, like the jagged line of a graph, in memory, whether one knew it or not. Inyan, well, the name Inyan is quite common in the west side of Kintyre, but as you go round towards Southend, you reach the coast facing Sanda, and then the place name element Inyan just disappears. The geographical feature carries on right up to Cumbernauld and beyond, up the Lear side. You'll see these amphitheatre-shaped. That was the first description of an Inyan that I read, and I think it sums it up. It's like an amphitheatre-shaped bay. Not all Inyan place names have that feature. Some of them it's impossible to identify that feature. I don't think it's there. I think that was the main one. Most of the Inyan place names you look at, you'll see that kind of cove on the coast. The main definition of the dictionary is an anvil, sometimes it's a rock, so it could have a number of meanings, but that's the main one, the cove. And the biggest of all is the Inyan's Bay, as they call it. The Inyans, this is for Terry Lafferty, an old friend who died last year, I think. He was a frequent camper at the Inyans. It's in two pieces. The first wee poem. I have returned in memory, simplified, to the stony grass, the shingle shore, pulled about by surf, the late sun over Jura, and the vision of companions, returned also in perfect faith, from earthly distances or death. Forgive me the hankering for summers past, the moments I held that were taken from me. But do they not more precious light emit the further they lie from reality? I look and find them scattered on the grass of one Atlantic bay, which wakes to surf from its own dream, not of summer, but eternity. Important in many ways, but I suppose particularly because of the botany. And there was one year, and it's in a book, I forget the name of the book, spent the summer, or the spring and the summer, looking at every one of the several, most important species of flower as they came along, the first out and then the second out, and I looked for where they were, and some of them were on scree, some of them are right. Well, there was one species, I forget the names of them, because they're relatively uncommon, and you go and see them and you look at them, and you've got the name in the book, and you know the Latin name, and then you don't see them for years, and then you've forgotten. But they're well documented. They're part of the significance of the reserve there. But anyway, that summer I went and saw them all and photographed them, and that was quite a thrill. So this is one of the, well, it's not one of the most special plants at Largiebaan, but it's quite special. Purple saxifrage at Largiebaan. Of all the botanical rarities on this coast, first to appear is purple saxifrage, as April summons a little warmth from the sun of lengthening days. Out from cracks in starkest rock, its tight and tiny flowers squeeze. Another little miracle happening when there's no one there to believe.
Well, an enormous thank you to Angus for his time there and for braving the rain, as you might have heard. It was obviously a slightly wet day out on the Mull of Kintyre. And Billy, if you're listening, thanks again for taking the microphones and getting all that sorted for us. We really, really appreciate that. I probably owe you a pack of biscuits. But that was a fantastic feature, and I really enjoyed hearing Angus's connections to the reserve and just his really visual poetry. And it really conjured up so many images of the various species and pictures that Angus kind of created. So I really, really enjoyed that. It's a very special feature. So again, a huge thank you to Angus there.
Yeah, I'm the same, Ed. It's just fantastic. And I think it's such a nice way for people to connect with nature that maybe can't get out to certain areas, and to read that poetry, like you say, you feel like you're there, which is just super powerful. And it's amazing. There's so much history and everything, especially with natural history. I mean, right after I'd listened to some of Angus's poems, I then started to research folklore around my sort of area, and there's so much, even kind of within Glasgow, there's so much kind of natural history and tales to tell, and I found it really interesting to read. So I do recommend listeners to kind of go away and see kind of local stories from your local reserves and local sites.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Ed, now that we've come to the end of this episode, if anyone has any feedback, how should they get in touch with us?
Well, as always, you can reach us on all of the usual social media platforms. The links are all on our website, or you can drop us an email at communications@scottishwildlifetrust.org.uk.
Yeah, so again, thank you so much. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, all about kind of mental wellbeing and folklore. So yes, please join us next week for episode 7. It's our last one, sadly. But thank you very much.